Hello, my name is Joe Siemens, and today we're going to be going over Deswik Caving. In the first part of Deswik Caving is preparing the block model, and I made a video previously about preparing the block model. It takes a lot of work. There's a lot of upfront preparation that goes involved with the block model, but once you get the block model done, this is the next step right here. So let me show you what we got. We have a SubLevel cave. There's backfill coming in up top. These are all the rings and the slots. We have just standard rings here. I'll show you a good ring shape. Maybe. There we go. This is the ring shape. It's 15 feet wide, 25-meter level spacing, and a burden of 3 meters. And then these are our slots. They're just a triangle. A generic triangle, nothing detailed. And I have to explain a little bit about Deswik Caving before we begin and how the algorithm works. I made this PowerPoint here, this flow chart. So it has to import all of these shapes right here. It's going to import all of these as a point, and then once it gets to this point, it's going to start mucking it out. It's going to start removing blocks, and blocks are going to fall from above. So you pull blocks out at the bottom point, and then blocks come in up above. And so you have to set up rules on how this works. How does it know how many blocks are we going to pull out of this bottom and when to move on to the next ring? And it follows the sequence that you have. But yeah, how does it know how many blocks to pull out of this ring and when to move on to this ring? That's what this explains right here. So we start pulling blocks. That's what this is right here. We start pulling blocks. Mine until the initial shutoff tons are achieved. So let's say we have, let's just make it easy, 10. So in our rules, here's Deswik Caving right here. We're going to set up a rule that says the initial shutoff tons is 10. That's the first rule. Okay? Start pulling blocks, pull out blocks until you get to 10 tons. Just make it simple. This isn't very realistic, but 10 tons, okay? So you pull a block, there's 1 ton, pull another block, 2 tons. You pull out 10 blocks and you get to 10 tons. Let's just say each block is 1 ton. Keep it simple. So it pulls out 10 blocks. Okay, now what do I do? It goes to this decision. Initial shutoff grade. So this was initial shutoff tons. Now we're at initial shutoff grade. Okay? And so let's say we set this at 3 grams per ton. Okay? Let's highlight that. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try that again. There we go. Our initial shutoff grade is 3 grams per ton. Okay? So it just pulled out 10 blocks. Now it's saying, what do I do next? Well, you have a decision to make. The decision is the grade above 3 grams per ton? Let's check. We'll do a sample. Yep, the sample, we are currently at 5 grams per ton. So we are above. If we're below the 3 grams per ton, we're just going to end it. Okay? End it, move on to the next ring. But let's just say we're at 5. We say we're above the 3 grams per ton. So now it says you have another decision. Final shutoff tons. Okay? Let's say the final shutoff tons is 100. Okay? Let's try this again. Oh, 100. So we're only at 10 right here. We're only at 10. We're definitely not at 100. Okay, we've only pulled out 10 blocks, 10 tons. We need to get to 100 tons. So we are definitely below that. So we go to this decision tree. We follow this path right here. And brings us to this. Mine sample average tons. So we're going to mine some more tons. We're going to mine more tons. And you have to set a sample average tonnage size. Okay, so let's say this is 5. We'll just make it simple. 5. What that means is we're going to pull out 5 more tons and we're going to sample it. Okay? We're going to pull out 5 more tons. We're going to sample it. So, okay, we're still at this ring. 5 more blocks, that's 5 more tons. And then we do that and we come to this one and we say, okay, what was the grade of these 5 tons? It was 4. Okay. We're above, so are we at 100 tons yet? No, we've only pulled out 10 plus 5, so we're at 15. So we're definitely below that. Pull out 5 more tons. So you pull out 5 more. Boom, 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 boom. 5 more tons come out. What was the grade? And then you come here and you say, what was the grade of these 5 tons? The last 5 tons. Not all the tons, just the last 5 tons. What was the grade? Oh, it was 6. Okay, that puts us above the 3. So are we at 100 yet? No, we've only done 10 plus 5 plus 5. So we're at 20. We're definitely not at 100. And so it starts again. You pull out another 5 tons. Boom, boom, boom. What's the grade of those? It's 3.1. Okay, we're above 3, so keep going. Are we at 100? No, we're only at 25. And so this just keeps going. It just keeps going and going and going until either the grade drops below or you reach that 100 tons. Okay, so let's say we know what happens here. It just stops and goes to the next ring. So let's say we get to 100 tons and the grade is still above the 3. Okay, so now we're above the final shutoff tons. Now what does it do? Final shutoff grade. Okay, so let's recap. There's initial shutoff tons, initial shutoff grade. Then there's final shutoff tons and final shutoff grade. So let's say the final shutoff grade is 5 grams per ton. Okay. We got 5 grams per ton for our final shutoff grade. Well, you can set all of these numbers in Deswik Caving. So we set it at 5 grams per ton, and so it's just going to look at this last 5 tons, and let's just say that last 5 tons puts us over 100, and we're at 6 grams per ton. Okay? So that puts us above, so we follow this path, and mine sample average tons. So this is the same thing right here. These are the same boxes. So again, we're going to say it's 5. These will always be the same. It's 5, so you mine 5 more. So now we're at 105, or sorry, we're at 110 because we had to get to above this. It has to be above. So say now we're at 110, and our grade is 8. So we do it again, 5 more. It just keeps doing this until the grade is below this. So let's say our grade gets to 3. And so then it ends and we're done. We move on to the next string. So there's kind of a circle here where it just keeps mining until it either comes out here or over here, and then it keeps doing this until you get below the grade. Hopefully that gives you a good overview of how this works. Now, how do we set that up in Deswik Caving? First thing you have to do is you have to set up this filter. I have an attribute called ring select. It's right here, ring select, and it's either true or false. All the rings that you want in caving need to be set as true, and you need a filter that says ring select equals true. And you need to be able to filter those. That's the very first thing it's going to ask is which solids do you want to import into Deswik Caving. So you need to make this first. Don't include any of the lateral development, stoping, vertical, get rid of all that stuff. All you want is the rings, okay? There's a lot of stuff we have to set up here in the scheduler. So I have my level, my activity type, my rock type, schedule factor is either on or off. All of these don't really matter for Deswik Caving. The flow switch, this one does not matter for Deswik Caving. This one does not matter at all. Okay, so this is just a tool that I set up in the scheduler to help me. So these are the results that we get from Deswik Caving. It will drop into tons of SLS. Okay, and right now they're all zeros because we haven't done anything. And these are the tons that I report out in all my reports down here, and they're all zeros. Well, I want to see something in there. If I just have the in situ values, it helps out a lot with these reportings because then I can get an idea, and it makes a little more sense. So I made this little switch. It's either flow model or in situ. If you hit in situ, then it just looks at the in situ values and dumps it into this ton scheduled, and it populates my report. That's all this does. It has nothing to do with Deswik Caving. So you don't even need this if you don't want to. But for me, I like the switch to be able to see in situ or the flow model results. If you put the flow model results, then it will look at this one and it will put in that value in here. So I'm going to keep them all to flow model. Then there's ring select. We already talked about that one. The next one is this SLS shutoff. So let's talk about this again. There's two options here. You can either have draw call or shutoff. See, draw call or shutoff. If you put it to use shutoff, it's going to follow these rules that I just explained. Okay? If you put it to use shutoff, it's going to follow this flow chart. If you put it to use draw call, it's just going to take whatever's in here and mine that many tons. Okay, so it's going to be a really simple flow chart. It's just going to say start, and it's going to say mine 5,000 tons. Once you get to 5,000 tons, end. That's it. Okay, and I don't think it matches up perfectly with 5,000 tons because it has to mine out blocks. So we're gonna test this out to where I put in I took one level, just this 585. If you look, all the other ones say use shutoff. Oh, down here it does not say use shutoff. What is it? Oh, there's some that say, okay, I'm glad I caught that. Let's change this to flow model. And use shutoff. There you go. Every other level has flow model here. Well, they all have flow model, and this is the only level where I have shut off on 585. So I just wanted to do a test to show you what this tons SLS draw call is. I have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are 5,000 tons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, and then 0. I have 5 that are zeros. So I wanted to test this out, show you what it does. So when the results, this should be very close to 5,000. And then these ones should be very close to 4,000. And then these ones should be very close to 0. And then these ones should follow these rules that we talked about earlier. Okay? So that's what SLS shutoff is and the draw call. You're going to have to set these up in the scheduler before you go into Deswik Caving. Okay? And then in Deswik Caving, it's going to ask us, where's your shutoff switch? And I'm going to say, well, it's this one I made. And then it's going to say, where's your draw call tons? And I'm going to say, well, it's this one. And then it's going to say, where do I need to dump out the results? And that's this one. The tons SLS is where you dump out the results. These ones are where the grade's going to go. And in the previous video about the block model, I explained what these were. The AU res was the gold grade, and the AU res 1 to 5 was just classes 1 to 5, so it excluded unclassified material. So the results are going to dump into here. The grade schedules the reported grade. That works with this. If you change this to in situ, you'll see the tons come in and the grade. Those are kind of my reported fields. One more thing to go over is the profile. I have a profile set up in Deswik. It's very descriptive. It says ring width colon 6.0 meters, height 32.5 meters, and the mining direction is north. This is very descriptive, and Deswik Caving cannot handle special characters, spaces, dots, any of that stuff. So I had to make this ring profile, and it has underscores and no spaces or anything like that. So you can kind of see width is 6, height is 25.0, length is 7.5. So you can kind of see how that works. But yeah, this is going to get imported into Deswik Caving. So those are all the things that you need for Deswik Caving setup. Let's get started. So I have one here that has everything in it that I want, and I'm just going to edit this one, but you can add a new one if you want. And typically it says scenarios here, and you're supposed to be able to have 10 different scenarios, but I don't like to do that here just because it gets confusing. What I like to do is set up a folder like this one, cave run 1, and I'll save all the files in here. And then if I want to do another scenario, I just keep this one the same and edit it, and then make another one that says cave run 2, and then cave run 3, and then I'll have all my cave runs in different folders because it produces a bunch of different files. So edit project, it's going to come in and edit this one that I already have. It brings up a wizard. Next, SLC or block cave, SubLevel caving, that's the one that we're going to go over. Development width, that's the width of the draw points right here that you're using. Okay, so these are the draw points. It's asking what are their widths, and I have it right here that we can look at. Profile width is 5.0 meters, 5.6 meters high. Now this assumes that it's a 5 by 5, but this is the closest that I have it. That you can't put in any more detail than this. And if you look at this, it's like, why does it have these numbers? You're probably asking yourself that. What's up with these numbers? Well, the common thing between these are 1.25. So when it pulls out the blocks, like we talked about in our flow chart here, when it starts pulling out these blocks, it's going to take, you have to have a regularized block model so that all the blocks need to be the same size, and they need to be divisible by 1.25. So mine are 2.5 blocks, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, and all the XYZ. And so if you divide that in half, it's 1.25. And if you look at these, what's 3.75 plus 1.25? It's 5. So that's why it's just trying to make everything line up into these blocks of 1.25. It's going to take your block model and divide up all the blocks into 1.25 blocks. And all the points, everything is based off of 1.25. So that's why you just need to pick the closest one here. Save intermediate files, write SLC, debug layers. I leave those checked. I'm not sure exactly what they do. Next, your task solid layer. So that's, task solids right down here. You can just click on it. The draw point ring filter. This is what I was talking about, the true or the false with the ring select. That's the first thing. These are all the solids that are going to be brought into Deswik Caving. Scheduler file, click that. Block model file, click the one that we made from the last video. The DXF layers. This is for your cave shape. I've tried this before and I have been unsuccessful at getting this to work. What I did is, in the last video with preparing the block model, I put in the cave shape in the block model. I programmed it, I coded it into the block model where MAT is the material type equals 20, everything outside of the block model. That's how I put in the cave shape, and those become immovable. So I don't put anything here. I've tried it before. I have been unsuccessful. These offsets, you just put them all to 0, and then you hit auto generate, and it does some sort of offset. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but yeah, I just hit the auto generate. I think what it is it's trying to figure out what the extents is of these shapes and the block model. Yeah. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I just always hit generate. And then the output file is where I save it into here, and I'll just say cave, let's do underscore run 01. Okay, save it, saves it in our first one, hit next, and every time it does this it takes a little while. Right now it's opening up the block model and getting some information from the block model. Density, you just pick your density field. Material type, again we talked about this. A rock type, RK, and defaults. I have these all programmed in, so I shouldn't need to worry about the defaults. This density default is important. So when it creates the density for the backfill, it's going to take this number right here, but I programmed it into the caving flow model, so that's what you have to do is in the block model you have to program this and code this into the block model, and we'll just take those. This is where you need to click all of these. I explained these are either ones or zeros, whether it's measured, indicated, inferred, unclassified, or backfill. Again, I covered these in the block model preparation. These are the grades, and then we don't need those. We just need this AU 1 through 5. We do want this AU res. Okay. You can only have 32 of these, no more. And then your primary grade field. This is what's going to optimize on. So when it goes through here and does all this and it looks at the shutoff grade, it's going to be looking at this field, whatever you put in here. And mine is the grade from excluding unclassified material. Okay, hit next. Now the shutoff. Again, coming back to this right here. Are you going to use the shutoff? Yes. And it's asking, what is your what is this? It's trying to find this, and you need to tell it right here. SLS shutoff. That's my switch from draw call to shutoff. Ring type field. It's asking what's your ring profile. That field that we talked about. Let's see if I can scroll over. It's asking, what is this? Where can I find your ring profile? Quantity field. Again, it's asking, where can I find this? Tons SLS draw call. I changed that, so I need to put it in there. Tons SLS draw call. Where do I find this quantity field? Okay. Next. So this is the bulk of the setup right here. So this name, these are your ring profiles. This is where you set up all of this stuff right here that we talked about. Initial shutoff tons, initial shutoff grade, final shutoff tons, final shutoff grade. You set it up all right here. So we're going to go through these one by one. The name. Now you can come over here and use this name right here that we talked about, or you can create your own name. I like to create a nice short one. I should have looking back, I probably should have used these very short names right here. But what it's going to do is you're just going to type in some names here. And then in the next screen, you have to match these names with these right here. It's going to go through your schedule, find all of these, and then you have to match them up. But this name needs to be very short, no spaces. This is the very important one, okay? So I have different profiles. I'm not going to get into the details of what my profiles are. Longitudinal, 20 meter wide. My direction is north, my direction is south. My slots, transverse, 20 meter level spacing, 25 meter level spacing. These ones I don't need anymore. These are the growth material that I'm not doing anymore. So level spacing, pretty simple from this level to the next level. Crosscut spacing from here to here, the width, you put that in there. The angle is this angle right here. Okay. The burden, that is this distance right here on the rings. So that's kind of like how thick your ring is, the burden, 3 meters. You'll note I have some weird shapes here with my slots. There's 7.5 meters right here, and when I mine it, I'm going to be driving the slot drift out. This is the slot drift. I'm going to drive this all the way out to the end, and then I'm going to start in the middle and kind of work out there. But yeah, those are some pretty complex shapes there, but they're 7.5 meters in the burden. So those are kind of unique. But yeah, those are all your what it's going to do is it's going to draw a basic shape like this, and you got to kind of match this shape as close as you can to what you actually have. It doesn't bring in these solids, it just brings in the XYZ point of these solids. It will draw its own shape based on these values right here. Okay? So yeah, just get these values to match as close as you can to what your shapes are. Now, we already talked about this. Initial shutoff grade. That is right here. Initial shutoff grade. Okay, I'm going to put mine at 2.5. Final shutoff grade, that's this one. I'm going to put it at 5. Initial shutoff tons. That's this one right here. And then final shutoff tons. Right there, final shutoff tons. That's this one right here. Okay? You put in all those numbers right here. You're probably wondering, where do I put in this number? That's in a different screen. We'll get to it. Just be patient. The dump, that is if your rings are dumped a little bit. They have an angle. Mine are perfectly vertical like this. They're not dumped. If you have a dump, you put it right here. And the azimuth that it goes along with this dump. If you have them all vertical, then you don't need to put in an azimuth because the blocks aren't falling at an angle. They're just falling straight down. So that azimuth matters if you have a dump. But I put in my azimuth anyways because I wanted to do that. So put all those in. Now, these names are going to show up in the next screen, and we have to attach them. We have to connect them to this ring profile right here. So those are all good. Here we go. These ones I'm not going to use, so I just get rid of those. So these were the names from the last window, and these are the values from it. Went into my scheduler file, found all the distinct names that it has, and it puts them right here. And then I just got to make sure that they line up with what I have. So this is the 25 meter tall one, 25 transverse, 25. My slot, 25 north. Yep. 25 north. 25 south. 25 south. Yep. Longitudinal. South. Yep. 20 meters. Yep. Transverse 20. Yep. Okay. And then I got some smaller slots there, north and south. Perfect. So it will bring in these for you from your schedule. You just have to go through and match them up right here. Okay. Now, this is where it's asking. You went in one of those slides, we went in and we said, this is our switch right here, SLS shutoff. We told it that's the switch. Now it went through and it found all of the values, and it wants to know which one is draw call and which one's shut off. You have to tell it which one is shut off. So whichever one you check right here, that means it's going to follow these rules. That makes sense? You have to tell it exactly which one is shut off and which one is draw called. And just to refresh, the shut off follows these rules that we set up. The draw call just goes to this draw call number. Okay, so that's why I put draw call here with a number. The shut off is down here. Okay, so you have to tell it, yep, you told it this is the switch. Now it's asking what do these buttons do? You know, which one's on, which one's off. And you just have to tell it this is the shut off one. Okay, next, finish. So that's set up. So what it did is it saved your settings into this scenario. And now you need to go export project. And this window comes up. it automatically goes and finds where you want it. You just have to save it. This is where you want to save your project. I'm in the folder right here, and there's nothing in here. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna save it right here. Normally I just don't touch anything on this screen. I just hit OK, and then it's gonna take a while. It's exporting the project. So what it's doing is it's building a new block model and a project file. It's building all this stuff, and it's gonna save it in this folder. So let's just sit here and wait. Oh, there comes the bar. Okay, it looks like we're done. Export succeeded. Do you want to open the simulator? I always hit no here. So you can see it spit out our PRJ file. It's pretty big. Block model, development, ring, schedule. Okay. So now you just come over here, hit open simulator. It pulls up PGCA version 18.7. Now all you do is go file, open project. You navigate to your PRJ file that we just saw. You hit open, and now this is going to take another 5 minutes. Okay, it's opened up. This is what we have right here. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. You can slide through the plane here, and we're looking at it kind of in the same view as over here, but I want to slice it so you can come up here, look north, south, east, west. So I kind of like this view right here. So you can see the black is material type 20, which is immovable, which is somewhat the cave shape. So that's how I got the cave shape, is I changed the material type MAT to 20, and then that makes it so it doesn't move. So these black blocks will not move. But yeah, you can zoom in really close and see all the blocks. These are all 1.25. Well, they might be 2. I'm not sure how big these blocks are. These are 5x5s. So let's look. This is probably 1.25, those little blocks. But yeah, they're all 1.25 blocks. These are the backfill, so you can see the backfill is going to come in down the backfill rays. And these are each one of these is a dot for your ring. So that it's going to start pulling back here. All the whites are they're your rings that it brought in. You can kind of see all the rings. See that? So, and then up here it looks like sky. This show subsidence. This is an important button. If I believe we do not want the show subsidence checkboxed. Let me think about this. Oh yeah, there we go. Let's talk about this first. Sample average. This number right here, mine sample average tons. You put sample average right here, and you put in the number right here. These numbers don't mean anything because we set them for each ring in the previous wizard that we set up. But this sample rate right here, 200 tons, you have to click this and put on this. Now, the show subsidence. I believe in the new version they said they were getting rid of this button. But this is an important button right here. And I have to think about this for a little bit. What it does is if you put on show subsidence, you're going to get it coming down like this. And I believe this is how you want it, like this. If you have it unchecked, it's going to put in new blocks up at the top. And we don't want that. We want to show the substance where it doesn't put in new blocks at the top. And you'll see it coming down. I believe that's how we did it. As it's running, I'm going to go back through and look and make sure that that's correct. Show subsidence. You want that checked. I believe that's how it is. But yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. Is you just have to set the sample rate. It changes this to sample average, and you have to make sure that that's checked. I'm going to go back through and make sure I've got that right. But then you just hit start. And it's asking, where do you want the .ebf file, extracted block file. So this is the results ebf, extracted block file. That's what it's going to create. We save it in the same place, hit save, and then boom, it's going to start going. There you go. We can zoom in. You can see it's pulling up the draw points at the top. You can change the view. There we go. You see how it's pulling all those out? See that? It's pulling these right here. It's going to start pulling these out, and all the blocks are going to come falling down. You see how that works? When it's starting on the next level in the middle, it's pulling those blocks. All the blocks are falling down, and you're starting to see the blocks coming in at the top. You see? I have a longitudinal here that's retreating out this way, another one that's retreating out that way, but you can really see it's take this block, pull some blocks, take this one, pull some blocks, and it's following those rules that we set up. I'm gonna go research this. I'll let you watch this video for a little bit. View looking north. I want to look east again. Yeah, that is right. You want this show subsidence on here. There we go. You see it's taking those ones right there. I'm waiting for it to do this one so you can see it. Okay, we are done. The simulation is complete. It comes up with this window right here. Just hit OK. And you should be able, when it's done, it will have this EBF file right here. That's what you want. It says 0. That's not good. There we go. That's what you're looking for right there. .ebf. That means it's done. You can just hit File, Exit, and it will close out of that. You need, so there's a couple cool things here. What am I looking for? It's this right here, but what layer is it on? Deswik.caving export debug slices. That's the layer we're looking for. Huh. Anyways, it came up with that. No. Let's go view. There it is. You just have to hit view, refresh layer control, and then it comes up with these right here. I'm not exactly sure what these are. I've asked for some explanation on these, but I'm not sure what those are. So what we need to do now is just import the results into the scheduler file. The first thing you need to do is make sure that the scheduler file is closed. It won't work if the scheduler file is open. And then you just come into import results right here. It steps you through a wizard. Caving results. So this is where you want to go to your EBF file. Update scheduler file. Click on your scheduler file. And then I just put import all. It will do everything. You go to next. And then this is where you have to map it to where it's going to dump into. There we go. We didn't do risk. So what you do is the mass is the tons, and so we did tons SLS. Okay. Yeah, that's what it was. Tons SLS, and then we did volume density. AU res would be grade. Yeah, right here. Grade SLS AU res input, and then we can also do this one. Grade SLS input. Yeah, right here. I have this all mapped out. Let me find it really quick. Yeah, I got it right here. Okay. I'm going to do these grade ones next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those come into grade SLS. Grade SLS, yeah, right here. Just gonna make this easy. 0, and then 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then we want these ones right here. 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and then this is tons SLS right here. That's the backfill, and then this is tons SLS 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what this is doing is it's putting the tons for each of these in this input. It can't break it up, but these are classifications, so it has unclassified, measured, indicated, inferred, and 9 is backfill. It puts them all right here. But yeah, that should be good. These are the main two ones that I wanted, was mass and then this 1 through 5. So yeah, then you just hit next, hit finish. So it said there was an error. Oh, there we go. Successfully imported results. Do you want to open the schedule file? I always hit no right here. But yeah, it said there was an error. That's kind of scary. If you hit yes on open the scheduler, it's going to open up the scheduler without the interaction. But let's see if it worked. It did not work. It did not import anything. Tons SLS. It did not import anything. So let me try one more time. I think it's because I have another project open over here. Let me exit out of that, close this down, and try it again. Okay. I got it. I closed it down. I opened it back up. I did not open the scheduler. So do not open this scheduler. Go export project, or sorry, import results. Next. That looks right. Next. It usually saves all your settings here, which is nice. We're going to try it one more time. Next. Finish. Okay, this looks much better. Successfully imported results. Do you want to open the schedule? Hit no. And then come in through the interactive scheduler, open it up. Aha, it worked. Okay. So another thing that I like to do is I have this refresh button right here. And what it does is it goes through and it refreshes everything, because you see how these tons scheduled is not coming through. Usually that refresh button will do it, but there might be something else going on. There it goes. This refresh button, it does, I have to find it because I never use it. Yeah, right here. It does these 4 buttons. It goes through and it does each one of these, and it refreshes everything. So if your numbers aren't coming through to your reported tons, just hit the refresh buttons and it will update. So here's my tons SLS. This is from the flow model. The grade 1 to 5. So let's look at our results with the 585 level, because remember we put on here we want 5,000 on our draw call, and we said use draw call, and see how we wanted 5,000 tons and it got 5,001, and then we wanted 4,000 and it got 4,002. We said we wanted 3,000 here, got 3. So it got really close, within 3 tons. That was 2 tons off. That was 1 ton off. That's 3 tons off. And see, even the zeros, it got 0. 2 tons off, 1 ton, 3 tons. It looks like the furthest one, that says use shut off. So that one used the algorithm that we set up, the rules. These ones say draw call. They got all within 3 tons. Draw call is all zeros. That's a shut off. Draw call, shut off. So it worked. We can put in a draw call, put in a number, and it will get within 3 tons of what our number is. So that's Deswik Caving in a nutshell. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be glad to help if you come over any problems. I had a lot of problems making this video, especially with the block model. It took me it took me multiple tries to get the block model to where Deswik Caving would actually pick it up and read it. So if you're having problems, let me know. I'd be glad to help. But yeah, that's Deswik Caving. Thanks for watching. Bye.